How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Biz and Flow bedside chat. I'm Natasha Ku.
And I'm Jachym.
And today was a big day.
Was it?
We clicked together on a button on a website.
To do what?
To buy our ticket for our... It's pretty much an undetermined trip.
Yeah, we might settle actually outside of Switzerland. We might leave. We actually are not, coming back potentially.
Or we might get tired of traveling in Asia for 6 months and just come back straight away.
Who knows? Yeah,
but anyways, we at least we tried to purchase the ticket. And we encountered some problems, so it actually didn't go through. So we'll have to do it again tomorrow. But it made me realize that that was the moment, Jachym. And maybe we should have recorded it, documented that.
Well, we can do it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Today was the rehearsal. But anyways, you had an interesting day because you woke up and you had this realization that you wanted to take the day off for yourself. Tell me more about that. Tell everybody more about that. Because, for some people it's really hard to unplug and to give themselves the permission to not think about work, to not, do the things that they feel like they should. So what feeling guided you to take some time off and just to be on your own?
Oh, I just wasn't feeling that great. And I was like, I think I need some time by myself. Because, you and me, we spend a lot of time together always. It's like we're almost super glued to each other.
That's the thing. I'm such an extrovert that I literally, it does not bother me at all. Like, for me, that's like normal.
Well, it
like
isn't for me.
A natural state of being.
Well, it's become kind of normal for me. But anyway, so I decided, I think it's just time to go by myself and just spend some time by myself, not really knowing what I'm going to do. I ended up walking a lot and it was quite nice.
What's nice about being on your own?
No one talks to you.
Oh my god. Should I just be quiet and not talk to you on this podcast then?
No one bothers you. No one interrupts your attention. You can just let your thoughts wander around. And you can just go wherever you want. You don't have to wait for anyone. You don't have to do anything. It's just you with yourself. And it was quite interesting to observe myself from kind of in the beginning. There was just lots of thoughts coming up. And
was there?
Yeah, there was lots of thoughts coming up, and I was not very aware of my surrounding. I was keep getting absorbed into those thoughts, and as the day progressed, that quietened more and more down, and actually in the end I felt super, 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 super peaceful.
Oh, that's really so nice.
It is, it is very nice. And, I did think a bit about our business and all of that. It's not like I'm not allowed to do that. It is more just the freedom to be, really, that's in the foreground in those days. Rather than thinking about what I have to do or should get done or will be good. It's just like, nope, today is just about being and seeing what happens.
Well, my day was slightly different.
Yeah, tell me about your day.
I've been slacking off the last few days completely. And it's totally different feeling than at the beginning when we were really like steamrolling ahead. Speaking of steamrolling, there were actually steamrollers on our street today. That's really funny. I don't know why that's funny, but we were just going for it, and it felt like it was so clear what we need to do, the direction and all these things. And now that we kind of are getting I guess closer and closer as we listen to what it is that people need and the feedback that we get and things like that, we're starting to reassess, okay, well, not only was that the right direction, but where do we go from here? What do we make of that? So it's almost as if we're trying to change the tasks that we do, where our focus is, right? Because right now we're really looking to create very impactful events that reach many people, not just organically, because so far we've been getting feedback organically and holding workshops organically, right? But we want to do it with a bit more intention, maybe even invest in some ads and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Some traffic, so that we can reach people that we wouldn't otherwise be able to meet or get to know or help. So that's something new for us, at least in terms of Facebook ads. And also we're looking to, speak. And you have really offered to quite a few people within your network that we're here and we want to reach more people. In person too. So as you can see, we're not only are we kind of slightly pivoting, maybe if you actually follow us on Instagram, you'll see that we have really paused there a little bit, because we really want to get a level of clarity before we kind of go full force forward again. So for me, it's kind of like that slingshot. I'm talking about the little rubber band. You have that stick, you have the rubber band, and you're pulling it back, right? So, if you want to propel forward, sometimes you need that pulling back. You need that reverse. Does reverse energy even mean anything? But it's like that backwards energy, that pull, right? The energy to pull back, to retreat. And then when it's ready, when you pull back far enough, it's going to spring forward. So there's a moment, there's a bit of time or effort that's needed for you to actually aim, right? And to pull that energy so that you have the forward momentum when you get going. So at least that's kind of the stage I feel. It looks like nothing's happening. Maybe we're even going backwards. But for me, it's that slingshot, and we're preparing to move forward.
Well, I like that you see it that way, because I was thinking we are a bit stagnating, and I was like, maybe we should talk about this, on the podcast today, because that's also stages that you go through with your business. But when I'm listening to you, you're actually right. We have become clear on who we're working with. We're becoming clear on the actions we want to take, and actually do actions that we haven't done so far. We haven't never really run Facebook ads. We haven't really
reached other people's audiences on a mass scale.
Exactly, and so that's actually quite nice to think about it that way.
Yeah, because you know what? At the beginning, you probably heard us talk about content marketing a lot, giving value through just giving lots of content. And we tested that, didn't we? But now we realize, what if the content came in a slightly different form? What if it was a bit more PR and, reaching people, our network, or just, the target audience that we want to, in a really effective way? Why waste time? I know that, when we do content marketing, when we do the podcast, when we do our Instagram, when we do YouTube, and all of these things, yes, it's targeted to, a group of people. And hopefully they're the people who are right for us. But what if we take this new approach, right? Which is something we haven't really done before, and go this PR route?
Yeah, well, I think it's just business, especially if you start off. Yeah, we have been doing change work and all of this for a long time, but when you kind of start off and you want to build really more kind of a brand and you want to attract certain kind of people, you have to refine your message, and that does take some time to actually get to know the people. It does take real life interactions with people. It does take time of you holding workshops, for example, and all of that, and so what just kind of becomes clear is that you need to give yourself the time to actually find what's really the thing that is aligned with you and what you want to share and what is actually out there that people are looking for, and bringing that kind of together.
One thing, this process we're in right now, it might seem frustrating to certain people, or even for us. Maybe we find it frustrating. I don't know. Because you have this feeling of, oh, it's not progressing. Are we wasting our time? Aren't things faster? Or can we hit our goals? And all this type of stuff, right? But at the same time, when we really reflect on it, you and me today, it helped me to realize that it's a good sign. It's a great sign that we stopped doing what we did at the beginning and are doing something new. Does that make sense? Because if we can't, with, I don't know, whatever thing that we were doing at the beginning, all of those things, and we just kept doing that for like 6 months, 3 months. What does that mean? That means everything we did was correct, and somehow we like managed to do all the right things from the get-go. That doesn't make sense. Because usually like business is this dance with the people and with what we can give, with the timing. So for me to see that, okay, we're pivoting, or we're changing up our tactics, or we're looking into, you know, new ways of doing business, that's a great sign. That means we've learned something. Or else why would we be motivated to change what we do? Even I'm on a very tactical level, like our daily activities and tasks and stuff like that. I mean, if we keep doing the same things from the get-go, then that's almost suspicious. Like, how could it be that you were 100% right and you're getting all the results you want from day one, and you're just repeating the things that you thought was going to work? Like, what? That's really, that's the probability of that happening is quite low. Yeah. Because you have to come in and you have these assumptions.
Yeah, and you always evolve, you always evolve and you change along the way. But I just want to kind of hone in as well on, we did a bit of the content marketing. I mean, we didn't, do it for very long and all of that. However, I just realized, look, the online space is quite crowded. There's lots of noise out there. There's lots of things are being written and all of that. And it takes time. That's more kind of a medium to a long-term strategy. But how are you actually going to find people now? And what always has worked for me is workshops, holding workshops, being in front of people. Because as soon as you're in front of people, they get a much deeper and much richer impression of who you are as a person, whether they like what you do, whether they like you, whether they want to have more of what you do or not. And so doing it with workshops, going to other people, like I might go to the Czech Republic, I'm going to Germany, maybe there's something going to be in the UK that we're going to do for workshops or speaking. That just looks to me like an efficient way of getting in front of people who could potentially then, want more as you go along. And also at the same time, I know there's a whole field that we both haven't really looked at and we're not necessarily great at, which is the whole marketing field, the whole branding field, which we're getting input on, which is really important, especially when we're looking at what we're looking at, which is building a business that is systemized and that can naturally attract and repel, attract the customers we want and repel the customers that are not a good fit for us. And so marketing is, of course, part of that. And so for us, there is a learning curve in that as well. So going back to what we actually know, like the workshops, was a natural first step. Now that we have kind of gotten experience with our workshops organically, and actually seeing also now, for example, with Internations, we see a bit drying up with the people coming or not coming in the current time. So we are thinking about new ways of holding a bit bigger events that people can come to and, do something like Facebook advertisement. I mean, in general, when I look, for example, at my kind of buying behavior or getting in touch with people who could potentially help us, they were all people who I had some kind of interaction with. Some of them, yes, that was online, and I first got introduced to them and I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not really interested in what they're doing. And now that becomes more relevant. but all the while they have been providing a lot of value in the groups or through posts and all of that they kept in my, they were staying fresh in my mind, and I was hearing actually of other people getting results with them. And now that it becomes relevant for us, that's when I'm actually reaching out to those people. So I believe, giving value, being of service to people, not thinking always about the bottom line and all of that, is really a great way of building a sustainable business. You have gone awfully quiet.
I honestly don't know what to say. I don't know if it's just too brilliant or too stupid what you've said.
Probably too stupid. No, I mean, look, guys, we're doing this podcast as a documentation process, and you'll hear us talk about things that are working, you hear us talk about things that are not working, about phases that we're going through, where it feels like, for example, for me, it felt like, we're a bit stagnating, actually, we're taking a bit less action, and then you have the different kind of view. But what I can say is, has become very clear to me is, if you're running any kind of business, you gotta have leads, you gotta have conversations that are sales conversations or enrollment conversations in some shape or form. And those need to be your priorities. You really, really need to focus on that, especially if you are building a business that is going to sustain you in the short, mid-term kind of future. If it's a long-term future, you can just, keep giving value. You don't have to think about any kind of sales. But otherwise, sales is so important.
And I want to add to that.
Wait!
Finally, I'm here. I'm not slacking off. I'm just building that great, I don't know what I want to say, like the wisdom, the wise sentence, phrase that I want to just end this episode with.
Blow us away.
It's one thing to create the most beautiful website with the most beautiful PDFs and the most beautiful, packaged thing, taster, course, freebie, workshop. It's one thing to do that, and it's another to do that and reach people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a trap when you start a business that you're so busy perfecting everything that you do. Now I want to say for yourself, so you feel good. You're surrounded by all this high quality stuff that you've created, and you're like, I feel so good, everything looks amazing, I've given my all, it's so of high quality, it's so impactful. Well, yeah, you think it's so impactful, but who has it actually impacted? Because if you don't get the eyeballs, if someone's not on the other end consuming it, using it, learning from it, seeing it, getting touched by it, it's useless. So I think that's why we're kind of coming from this place of constantly, I don't want to say constantly, but like we're continually learning and pivoting to see how can we bring this to the people who need it the most and en masse.
Yeah, and reevaluating our action, whether actually those actions are going to bring the results that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Because it's one thing for us to just create a perfect little business world like within,
mm-hmm.
and another to actually go into the elements, right? It's like facing the weather, facing reality out there, and going, now how do I actually make sure that this reaches real people? And so that's pretty much where we're at right now, making sure what we've got, what we've created so far, actually touches people. And not only that, but we begin to build such beautiful connections and such valuable some teaching, but what we give becomes so valuable to the people that it makes sense for them to dive in deeper, to commit further, to achieve together with us greater change in their life. Now that doesn't happen, that change in their life doesn't happen unless they are touched by what we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah? If we're just isolated in our own perfect little business of high quality perfection, I mean, what's the point? We're just a little planet just orbiting and no one's visiting us.
That's right. All right, I think it's really time to wrap it up. Tell me, what have we discussed today?
Well, we discussed the ebb and flow of business cycles, and how when you're starting out and you're getting a feel for the landscape and for what actually works for you, it's natural to change tactics. It's natural to retreat or take time so that you can see what's going on and then try new things. And sometimes that pivot takes time. You're refocusing, you're retargeting, so that you can move forward again, right? And also how we are here to constantly get more clarity and to make sure that what we do reaches people, and we're not busy being perfectionists in our own head, in our computers, in our home, in our business, and we're there facing the elements and making sure that we're here to do the best that we can before the greatest impact. And so that means that we're willing to, put money in, right? We're willing to experiment. We're willing to stand before, people who are within our network, other well-known practitioners, and to serve their audiences and just to put ourselves out there in ways that maybe we have never done before and that we're willing to do today because it's worth it. We don't want to be an isolated little planet of perfection that actually doesn't do anything in this world.
Perfection, it's a perfectly dysfunctional thing.
Exactly. It's just to please my own ego that I've got a little perfect castle that no one visits, no one sees, no one gets it, no one receives value from it. What's the point?
That's right. Anyways, thank you for joining us. If we can help you in any way, shape or form, then reach out to us. You can reach us at bizinflow.com.
And we'll be back tomorrow, but for now we're off to bed. We're already in bed, but we're just gonna slide underneath these covers, prop our pillows properly, and just snooze away.
Good night.
Good night, everybody, and talk to you soon.
Bye.